Okay, start recording. Hello everybody to the Treasury Automation work group. It's 18th November. And today we main topics are gonna be a quarter report and a bit of project quarter one proposal projections. And but for this video purpose, I'm only gonna show the development progress. And we are now using GitHub. Actually been using it for a while now, few quarters. And let me check when we last left off was 7th October. So somewhere in here, let's see if somewhere in middle here. So in general, I think that period, because now it's been 2 months, there's this where I have like updated the Treasury like backend in a way that now I'm like using AI to code and there is more generic and generated code. So uh, that that actually has like pushed me to start dealing with the backlog. And as you can see, there is like 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, like a lot of small feature sets that have been done. I don't know how many fixes there are. There are some which I find, but if I quickly go through them, enhanced meeting participant, important workflow, implementing duplicate prevention in update Zoom conf. Okay, so the Zoom still gives us probably some errors, but it's more making it easier. Okay, so there was an issue yeah, where I added multiple um, people in the same meetings, and the system allowed to do it, so I kind of turned it off, but I realized what was my problem. It was my mouse that was doing double clicking every now and then. And I didn't know that it's like some Excel buttons are like very fast to react. Um, so yeah, upgraded contribution data validation by converting check task name. Okay, so something, yeah, some minor like UX improvements to automation on import, when we importing stuff. Fix set auto filter, always check current filter position and force reply if not match with given parameters. Fix reg. Okay, so bunch of small fixes. I don't know, from point to go into 50-minute tasks. The big one here is construct GitHub project board URL to import and make button open it. Okay, so previously we had, when I was like checking a proof, it went to the GitHub repository task, but it didn't have these elements on the side, like when it was completed, what tokens were assigned, and any other like stuff. And then it didn't really help me, and I had to also go back to the project board, and then I see it. So, but yeah, by construct, because we have from the JSON all the information needed to get to this specific page you are in right now, and with these details, we kind of reconstructed it, and now it's more again quicker, user-friendly to the intention that is needed if I need to open specific tasks. Update the global functions. So yeah, these are something that are going to come up over and over again. And, and most of these, like, okay, one side is like many of these were like backlog items that came from when we were just operating, which are more related to single Ethernet. But when there is more relation to like global function, it means like effect to all the Excels I have. And past few months, I'm not only just focusing on single Ethernet, but I'm creating accounting for basically Estonian companies too. And then I also have this knowledge-based stuff and any other feature like this GitHub description stuff that we now used for mm, the report generation. So all of these now, whenever I need some kind of unique function, I will list it here, and not all of them. Like if I'm doing the accounting stuff for the Estonian companies, I don't at that time here, but it will affect in like how Singularity Net the Treasury also works. And most of it's like related to performance or yes, just extra features to manipulate data conversions. And added session names, yeah, some UX stuff again. Another 60-minute series created two new conf booleans to remove task templates and task date and time performance. Ah, okay, this is the new when we imported all the GitHub descriptions from GitHub. It always has like these dates and these times. So, but for the AI, it wasn't relevant or for that specific purpose. So I made it, yeah, okay, made it booleans to remove them and all of these example stuff. So because we don't want to give information to AI that doesn't really need, else it just gets confused because it doesn't like use logic, it uses semantics. Like it's kind of logic too, but different thing. Okay, now there are a few big items here. Designing UI manager sheet, a new tool to manage data, column keys, and input fields. UI manager sheet. Ah, okay, so I completely and then implementing UI manager and UI manager. So a lot of time spent on a new feature where I'm basically um, like regenerating my global variables. So I used to, whenever I did like a in user interface design, I had to manually write like locations. Okay, this button, okay, buttons were generated, but like this table starts with here, and or this field, custom field is here, or this vertical variable starts here, or this button series starts here. So instead of like this uh, like manual writing the position of this logic. And then whenever I do changes, I need to go back to the documentation and make sure all the columns match. And it wasn't really like that big of a deal because I've been doing it for years. So I basically automated 5 or to 10 minutes of my work whenever I do update. But I realize I actually update quite often, like once a week. I need to do that. And whenever I do a totally new sheet, now that takes far more time because then I do it from scratch. And basically all this stuff, I have now a button to look at what I have on Excel. It generates me the fields. But now the problem was like, okay, I do get it, but are they correct? So I still needed to manually check them. Um, and but going back and forth between sheets and like figuring out wasn't really like effective. So I created another like feature to compare the previous version or a new version. So there was a basically a bunch of this development around UI generation and validation. Overall, it is now working, and with the latest updates I made, like to I would say that yeah, it is pretty good. You just press a button, see, and it's color coded. Um, it could be even better in the comparison, but I'm like, okay, it's good enough. So we'll see when we next come back to that. GitHub task change integration. And yeah, and now this is like the actual thing that we said in this, like the SingularityNet proposal that we do is that when we uh, in the GitHub we move the tasks to like not in the GitHub but in the Treasury Manager we like import the tasks. There is now button to move all of these things from audited to archived and also changed all in our work groups that whenever task is moved from audited to archive, it automatically closes. I noticed that we have like a huge backlog of archived tasks that never are closed. So, and I don't know how much people are using repo, but this is kind of finalizing that. So now the next step is like just hoping that more and more people come from Dbeer to GitHub, and then I never need to do this drag on Kanban whenever it's done. And yeah, it was relatively quick task itself. Minor changes, again, some 30-minute task, 50 minutes, probably just 2 weeks experiences and 2 week experiences. And final thing, when submitting transaction, then exchange rate will apply to a recognition IDs in token district. Okay, yeah, I added the exchange rate. So previously, whenever we do have exchange rate in a GitHub JSON archive, but it's like a very obscure place to find it. Another way to get the exchange rate is going through like transactions on chain and you like comparing that with I don't know coin market cap on that time and like combining that with the database value of knowing if that was USD rate or like real rate. Well, technically, that doesn't matter then. So we had options to get the change if we really wanted to, but usually when I need it, it was like I need something quick craft to kind of do a conversion and see how much like Singularity Net has spent into a master room. And to me, it's more like relevant in when I'm doing yeah like promotional stuff or like saying okay how we have applied our treasury and how Singularity Net's using. So yeah, now it's basically made easier. And it's when as soon as I send it to the payment, it also now converts the exchange rates into the database. I mean the Excel database. That is it from my side. I don't know if Andre has added any elements. But yeah, clearly he has done a bit of the dashboard, some bug fixing, and then yeah, this so that I could change the GitHub statuses through an API that he also has implemented. Okay. Other future plans yet today, maybe, well, there are like few ideas like updating a metadata standard, and that is going more beyond like Singularity Net scope. But I feel like relevant because now we know what we want to change. We are missing because we're running several times in situations where a payer is somebody else or and compared to the network who is creating the task. So like, mm, not like, I don't know, not a donation or like investment style of contributions or recognitions. And another thing is that also makes it so that relations are not that easily to like recognize. Could pull them all into subgroups, but they're not really the same thing. So having like, okay, this project was done by combination of these different networks because they all kind of found it worth it to invest into them and to highlight these situations. And another is the clean task name requires potential infrastructure change and coordination to construct the task name with date and amounts on the dashboard. Um, and that slightly reduces the kilobyte amounts. So each letter, as you know, or number takes 1 kilobyte from the metadata, and each of it costs a bit of ADA. It's a zero point 0.0 something costs, but it's a cost nonetheless. And also, to me, there is like a difference between what is a task name and task name with a date with an AGI or token amounts. And I think this relevant other stuff is not relevant because they do exist in the metadata and can be like constructed. But yeah, I understood that some people they want to have task name connected with the date because it's much easier for them to then make sense of because the dashboard doesn't show like the rest of the metadata. Um, so yeah, not like breaking people's like processes or experiences to validate stuff, but while also improving the way we handle the metadata. Um, and the reason why I'm kind of focusing on metadata or what like would like to focus in the quarter one is because of this new proposal we are doing for Catalyst. Another thing is um, the idea of maybe at some point because there isn't yet like discussions in Cardano improvement proposals, but we have like a very clear use case and probably the strongest contender to show like what should be a standard for contributions and recognitions across the Cardano ecosystem. And like having that final touch of covering our like tensions we have with it would get us even more closer to like final version, what we could standardize. Now I'm gonna close the video and we're going to continue with the rest of the workgroup activities. From the YouTube, you will find the meeting summary from the dashboard link. If you are watching this too close, like few days after the release, it may not be there yet. So we will see only the previous version. This is our archival and any other elements. If you like too close, you can also find stuff on Maraboard where we add more elements there. And this is the summary stuff where it's gonna appear on the top row. Thanks for watching. See you later.